The thing about Hitchcock was that he was a master craftsman. You know, he knew all the tools, and he knew how to employ them to achieve the effects that he was after. The shot of Martin Balsam being murdered on the steps, where the camera seems to move down the stairs with him as he's struggling to maintain his balance, I used that in The Exorcist. There's a shot of, well, frankly, it's a shot of a character being grabbed by the scrotum by the young girl who is possessed, and he falls backwards screaming. And I attached the camera to him. I found out how Hitchcock did that effect. He attached the camera to Balsam, and that's what we did in The Exorcist.
One of the things I loved about Hitchcock was that Hitchcock was really that first director that put his personality before the movie. I mean, it was Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest, even though Ernest Lehman, of course, wrote it, and, you know, of course, the novel and the script of Psycho, but it's Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. You really feel his personality in all the movies. And I've always tried to do a little, like, walk-on cameo in my films, in all my films, because of Hitchcock. And that's why every director does a cameo in their movie. It's because Hitchcock did it.
Hitchcock was always concerned about the appearance of things. He was always concerned about things that seemed good but were really corrupt, or things that seemed corrupt that he found the good or the fragility in them. I shared that fully with him. He was very interested in playing some sort of strange family drama, which I also have a big empathy with. But more than anything, the fact that he used his stories as moral parables, in which he was not worried at all about reality. He didn't mind stylizing the camera moves, the wardrobe, the lighting. What he was seeking was not realism, he was seeking truth. And in that, I, again, have a big empathy with him.
At the end of North by Northwest, when Cary Grant's trying to pull Eva Marie Saint up the side of to keep her from falling off of Mount Rushmore, and he says something like, "Here you are, Mrs. Thornhill," and you're still seeing him from that scene, and all of a sudden they cut to him pulling her up into the bed on this train, and that's guts. That's really a ballsy thing to do. Certainly that's had a huge influence on me. I did Smoke and Aces. It was all one scene led to the other, but it was always a gesture in one scene that led to something in the next.
Hi, Jack. Great, good, super. Come on in. Good to see you. Hello.
And that's a direct corollary to my exposure to guys like Hitchcock, particularly that because I thought that he really sought to make the experience of a movie singular.
Hitchcock brought the sanctity of the storyboard, the sanctity of pre-planning, his European sensibility. All of this came with Hitchcock to America, and his point of view of the corruption of a little town can be traced all the way to David Lynch's Blue Velvet. You can trace any of his movies directly to Spielberg's Duel.
As if I could do anything except just sit and stare, like one of his stuffed birds.
He's got some souped-up diesel. My car's just not that powerful. I just can't drive 80 and 90 miles an hour. But Guy, I like you.
In Raging Bull, I guess the boxing scenes have a lot to do with the action sequences in my mind. All of this editing and all of this camera movement that I've been exposed to for the past 25 years or 30 years came into play in those sequences, and Hitchcock had a lot to do with it, there's no doubt. Particularly in designing the scene where Sugar Ray Robinson, in the third bout that they have, LaMotta's on the ropes, he looks up at him, and Sugar Ray comes in for the kill. And there's a kind of edited sequence of punishment that this character is taking. I based it on shot by shot from the shower scene of Psycho. And so I designed it correspondingly, in a way. It corresponds, the glove corresponds to a knife. And so we shot it that way.
Good evening. This looks like a hand grenade, doesn't it? Please don't be frightened. It really isn't a grenade, it's a music box. You see, if this were real and I were to pull the pin, I'd be blown to bits in a few minutes. But when I pull the pin on this one, we shall hear the sweet strains of I'm All Shook Up. Watch.
In Psycho, you think for the first 35 minutes of the film that you're watching a story about a woman who has embezzled some money, and a half hour later she's dead and she's not in the movie anymore. He completely took away your stability by killing the star. And I literally used that in a film I made called To Live and Die in L.A. I had the star of the movie killed about 20 minutes before the end of the film.
Hitchcock's work was a huge influence on me, not just in Cabin Fever, but in Hostel. In fact, I stole the protagonist switch from Psycho. Let's just take a guy, make him the main character, say this is our star, this is his story, then just kill him off halfway through. Now you're stuck in a strange country, you don't know the language, you don't know the people, there's the fear of the police, which Hitchcock had a real fear of police, that's certainly in there. We were going for a Hitchcockian style. And that's really, our nod to Hitchcock and Psycho and North by Northwest.
I don't think young people who want to study film need to go to film school. I mean, I never did. They need to watch Hitchcock's films. You watch Hitchcock's films, and it's a quarry for filmmakers.
Hitchcock is an idea. Like Dali is an idea. Like Disney is an idea. Like Spielberg is an idea. When you say that name, it evokes things that you think you know, and you may not even be able to put them in words, but it's a feeling. It's, people would say, a brand. I just think it's something more powerful than that.
At any rate, we shall be back another time to explore further the dark alleyways of human behavior. Until then, good night.